Hello everybody and welcome to another Music of the Month, my monthly show where I cover all the music that I listened to in the previous month, even though not all of it had to have necessarily come out in that month. This time we're talking about April of 2019, which in my opinion doesn't really match up to April in 2018. April 2018 had some really good stuff. But we still had some decent stuff, some great stuff even, and as always we break it down from top to bottom in terms of like the band name, and yeah, and I'm going to be doing something unique. I'm actually going to be grading these albums from like F minus to all the way to A plus. Can do F plus as a minus? I'll just leave it an F. But anyway, yeah. So we start with Cage the Elephant with Social Cues. I did a backtracking episode for these guys 2 years ago, and I enjoyed it, and I thought this was a good album. I actually quite liked it. I wouldn't call it top 10 material, but it's nice to have Cage the Elephant release new stuff, especially since it was 4 years after Tell Me I'm Pretty, which was their last album. I'd probably give the album all in all a B minus. I think that's too much. A B. It's solid. It's really enjoyable. I wish more of it stuck with me than what actually did, but once again, always nice to have Cage the Elephant put new stuff out. Next is Craig Finn with I Need a New War. I'm familiar with Craig Finn through him being the lead singer of The Hold Steady, who I don't listen to enough of, and his side stuff is also quite good. It's just really good indie-style storytelling. I actually quite enjoyed the story. I was quite invested in it. It was a nice little concept to wrap things up well. The instruments and production sounded really good. I'm probably going to give this one also a B. I really jiked it. I was going to say I really liked it. It was enjoyable. It was fun. It doesn't waste too much time, but it tells enough of a story, and I quite like that when it comes to a good concept album. Next is the Cranberries with In the End, and it would feel wrong not to give this a higher grade. I like the album sound and the production, and I'm going to give it a B plus. Like, it was a good sentimental sort of thing, especially after the lead singer Dolores died last year. So, yeah, it was a good album, and it was like listening to All Our Gods Have Abandoned Us, in that was my first Architect album, and it had the ghost of Tom Sowell hanging over it. This is my first Cranberries album, and it will be the Cranberries' last one before they break up. And it sort of had the ghost of Dolores sort of hanging over it, but sort of in a good way. And I really, I thought it was a good send-off for her. I quite liked it. Next is the Damned Things with High Crimes. Obviously, the Damned Things consists of lead singer Keith Buckley from Every Time I Die, guitarist Joe Troman, and drummer Andy... I forgot his surname. The one from Fall Out Boy, and Joe Troman from Fall Out Boy 2. Andy Hurley, that's his surname, I think, Hurley. Also, guitarist Scott Ian, best known for his work in Anthrax, and bassist Dan Andriano from Alkaline Trio, who wasn't in the original Damned Things lineup, funnily enough. But yeah, like, when you get that many really good musicians together, you get a really good band and you get a really good album. I'm going to give this a solid A-. I really liked it. It's not quite A or A plus level, but it was really enjoyable. Not a lot of it blended in well together, and it made everything sound unique, which is really good because Keith Buckley fronts Every Time I Die, and they're a band who are known for making a lot of their songs sound really unique to each other, as I discovered when I did a backtracking episode of them a few months ago. 2 or 3, maybe. But yeah, I quite like this one. I, once again, wouldn't call it a front runner for Album of the Year, but liked it. Liked it a lot. Next is Danko Jones with The Rock Supreme. It was my first Danko Jones album. I've heard a couple of songs from them, and I do actually like them. I just feel like this album had good instrumental and production work. The lyrics were just kind of the same old usual stuff you'd hear from most modern rock. I don't know, I'm going to give this a C+. That is a wee bit harsh. I just feel like this album had more going for it, and the band didn't fully use that. I don't know. Not really on my worst list, but really not on my best list either. So, there you go. However, we moved from an above-average album to a really good album, The Dead Days by Get Scared. Probably their last one. They're currently sort of on hiatus. I was very glad to find out that they were releasing this one. I still hope that lead vocalist Nick Matthews recovers in rehab pretty quickly. But yeah, I really like this album. I did not think they could top Demons, and I'm so glad to have been proven wrong. I'd probably give this one an A. Maybe even an A+. It was really enjoyable, really dark, really heavy, but had enough emotion behind it. Really great production too. With Chris Crummett, I think, is the producer. He does a really good job. Yeah, I absolutely enjoyed this one, and I hope that it's enough of a good album that the band do get their stuff together and put out more stuff as well, because this really gives me hope. It is sad to say that we might not see another Get Scared album, but all in all, this is a really high note to go on. Definitely A-worthy. Next is Mariana's Trench with Phantoms, my first Mariana's Trench album, and the first album in this particular group that was not released in April. This was released in March, and I missed it. I heard about it from a show called FEME, which is an acronym for Fuck, I Missed It, and it's by a dude named The Rock Critic, who you should all totally subscribe to. He does a better job at reviewing music than I do anyway. And yeah, he goes over albums that he missed in like the previous months. He does it like every quarter. So for this episode, he covered albums he missed in January, February, and March. And I decided to pick a couple of those out after watching the episode to see if there was any I liked. And this was one of those I liked the look of because he rated it pretty high. And I've got to be honest, yeah, I liked it. Really good production, really good sort of pop, emo, good mixes of like rock in there as well. I really liked how this was handled. It was a really well handled pop album. It reminded me a lot of Midnight by Set It Off in a few ways. And I gave this a B+. I thought it was really solid. I liked it. And quite a lot of it stuck with me, and it makes me regret not listening to Mariana's Trench earlier. I will admit, when I first heard about them, I thought they were like a sort of metalcore acts, because when I first heard the name, that was when a lot of the metalcore YouTube bands was seeping through the cracks. So I didn't really give Mariana's Trench a chance, because most of those bands were not great at the time, but all in all, B+ for this one, though. Really good. Next is the last album I listened to of April. Bizarrely enough, I listened to it last night. And a friend of mine told me it was happening, and I wasn't expecting them to put out a new album, and we'll get to that in just a little while. It is New Year's Day with their fourth album, I think, Unbreakable. I also give this a B+. I thought it was really good, really super heavy. It was nice to hear lead singer Ash Costello scream, which I felt was something missing from their last album. Which came out in 2015. I don't even remember the name of it. I thought that album could have been better if it had more screaming. This one has heavier stuff. It has also got really good balance. The thing is, it does veer too much into sounding like In This Moment, which normally I wouldn't have a problem with. I like In This Moment. But I want New Year's Day to sound like themselves. I want them to be the first New Year's Day and not the next In This Moment, you know? And a lot of this album's elements reminded me of Black Widow, because that was more experimental, and this is more experimental than what I normally know about New Year's Day. But I still enjoyed it. Once again, it wouldn't get the B+ rating if I didn't quite like it. But yeah, I thought it was really solid. I quite enjoyed it. Next is maybe my favourite album of April, tied with Get Scared. Periphery with Periphery for Hellstand. First of all, the title alone gets an A+, because it still makes me laugh like an idiot when I read it. The album itself also gets an A+. Oh my god, this thing is amazing. It's an hour and 3 minutes, but it's 9 songs long. The first song is about 13, 15 minutes, and it kept me captivated throughout the entire length of it. And I was captivated throughout the entire album. I was invested in it, and the dynamic range on display, the metal, like, grit, the fucking guitar style, the instrumental work, the production, because Periphery are an amazing band when it comes to producing, especially Misha Mansour, who is maybe the best metal producer of the modern era, maybe? But yeah, he did a great job. This album is absolutely fantastic. Besides Get Scared, this is probably one of the only ones on this list I absolutely recommend you listen to right now, so go find it, listen to it, it's really good. Next is Pup with Morbid Stuff. This is another band I sort of got from FEME, and they're a Canadian sort of indie rock punk emo-ish vibe band, and they have a really dark sound to them, but I quite liked it. I would give this a solid A. There was quite a lot of really good stories within it, and I quite liked it. It had a very, very realistic and honest feeling to it. It's not a happy album. I mean, the title itself is an indication of that, and the album cover is a good indication of that. But yeah, it was a really, really good listen. I actually quite enjoyed it. So yeah, and that was the last album technically in April. But the next 3 albums are albums I listened to in April, even though they didn't come out in April. So go talk about them anyway. Next is Puppy with the Goat. Oh, and by the way, I got all these other 3 albums alongside a couple of I just mentioned from FEME. But yeah, next is Puppy with the Goat, which sounds weird, but I give this one an A- as well. I really liked The Ghost. This one came out in January. I think so far this year is the biggest discrepancy between when an album came out and when I listened to it. And I quite liked it. I had never heard of Puppy before, and I'd never heard of Pup either. And by the way, they're not the same band. Pup are Canadian sort of indie rock sort of thing. Puppy are like a British sort of pop punk thing. They're sort of like a darker version of Neck Deep. That's really the best way I can describe them, but they don't sound at all like Neck Deep, which really helps, and I'm really glad because I love Neck Deep, and I want Neck Deep to sound like Neck Deep, and I want Puppy to keep sounding like they do on The Goat. I want them to sound like Puppy. Also, their name is Puppy, and puppies are adorable. Sorry, Hero. He's sleeping. Thank God. But yeah, all this album gets an A-. Really good musicianship on display, really good vocal work especially. I quite liked the sort of darkness to it, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really liked it. Next is Rhapsody of Fire with the Eighth Mountain. I've sort of heard of them. This album came out in February. I sort of heard of them. I don't know a lot about them, but I'm intrigued after listening to this one. I think this is their 13th or 14th album. They've been around quite a long time. They're a good old power metal, heavy metal band, and I like a decent bit of power metal. Yeah, this was really, really solid. I would probably give this one B+. I'm gonna try and find more of these guys because I actually quite like this album. Wouldn't put it in me top 10 personally, but from what I heard, yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and I can see why a lot of people actually do like this band. It was a really good concept, and using Christopher Lee, the late great Christopher Lee, is a surefire way to get tears out of people. It was sort of like when I watched Endgame, and spoilers, Stan Lee disappear. I saluted Stan Lee, and I listened to this album obviously before Endgame came out, and I saluted for Christopher Lee. So, yeah, rest in peace, you absolute legend. Go listen to this album if you can, if mostly because of the Christopher Lee monologue at some point in the album. That was really, really nice. And lastly, we do sort of end on maybe my least favourite album that I listened to in April with Resist by Within Temptation. I've been familiar with the band for a while now. This was my first full album by them. And this came out in February along with The Eighth Mountain. And I really didn't like it. Like, it's sort of had a strong start, but there was no spark after that, and it just fell really flat really quick. There was way too much going on and way too little to be posed, and I'm gonna give this one a D. I was not a big fan of this one. It gets saved from a D- or the EORF rankings because I don't know, like there was a couple of good things about it, but the bad outweighs the good in this case, and I wish I could have liked more about it, but I didn't at all. One for me. So, but yeah, that's it. That's all the albums I listened to in the month of April, in the year of our Lord and Savior 2019. And all in all, though, like, it felt good to grade these albums because I don't think I've done that before. I'm going to keep doing that from now on, though. But I'm not going to do it for backtracking. Just going to do it for Music of the Month. But yeah, I quite like this. April had a good bag, not a super great one, with the exception of Get Scared and Periphery's new stuff, and also I would count Puppy, maybe Rhapsody of Fire, and maybe the Cranberries as well. Craig Finn's new one was really good. But yeah, I recommend you listen to about half the stuff at least. It wasn't as great as last year's April, which had at least 4 album of the year contenders, and I only put 1 on my albums of the year list because, oh man, those other 3 albums were really good. But that'll honestly about do it for this episode now. I'm tired of rambling. I'm sorry for wasting your time, and I'll see you all tomorrow night, I think, for a new PBW stream because I'm streaming on Thursdays now. So yeah, I'll see you all for that. I hope you enjoyed these albums as much as I did. I hope you think I gave them fair grades, maybe. I think I did, and I'll see you all, sorry, itchy nose, and I'll see you all tomorrow, even though I don't really show my face, so besides that, I'll more likely see you for maybe backtracking, or maybe a Fight of the Night review. Or maybe it'll be 2 videos back to back by that point, I don't know. Anyway, thank you for watching, you're awesome, bye bye.